Welcome back to another episode of Nanny News. It is your host, Ashley, and you can follow us on all social media platforms at The Nanny News. So guys, last week we dove deep into how 2022 was the highest toy recall since 2013. We shared an article that showed all of the toys that were recalled in 2022, how they were recalled, what companies they came from, the serial number, everything that you would need to know about these products are in this article that we shared. So I highly suggest if you're a childcare worker or in the industry of childcare, have children of your own, are parents, whatever, I don't know. But please, guys, if you have not watched that episode, go do so after this episode, though, because it is very informative. I was learning things that I didn't know. I saw toys on there that are still in the houses that I work at now, that are in places that I worked at. I've seen that we visited. So I learned some things, and I know that there were some other nannies as well from the feedback that we received, learned as some well. So highly suggest you watch that episode if you have not done so. But stay tuned for this episode though, because we are going to be diving deep into how a first grade teacher walked into school in January thinking it was just an ordinary school day for her, just another day at work. But it was not just another day at work for her. It ended up changing her life forever. Her students' lives forever, everybody in her school's lives forever. We're going to dive deep into what exactly happened. She shared her story for the first time, so we're going to watch a little bit of her interview and just watch and kind of just share our thoughts about the whole incident and go from there, guys. So sit back, relax, and let's get to another juicy episode. Okay, guys, so this story, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to go say it does hit. It's not an easy story to talk about, but I thought I would share just share it, because to me I thought it was very interesting and just very shocking and just juicy to me, that I just wanted to share it with you guys. So fair warning, you guys, this episode is a little hard to talk about. The story is a little harsh, but it's kind of reality for us, unfortunately, now. So yeah, we're gonna so imagine being a first grade teacher and walking into school, and you're working at a lower end school. So your children are coming from families that have a little bit more problems or issues at home that they see and experience than maybe some other students that you've had deal with, or other children at different types of schools. It's not any of the kids' faults. Obviously, it's nothing that happens, like, it's just part of life. But imagine being a teacher in there, walking into school. Your day sometimes can be hard already, but you're walking in today and hear that one of your students has a gun, and you hear it in the beginning of the day, right? And you're like, okay, and nothing was done in the beginning of the day when they found out about that. And throughout the day, you're hearing more and more about the students, more and more things are starting to lead up to your fear, and your fear came true. So this first grade teacher named Abigail Zornard, yep, I just want to make sure I say her name right. But Abigail Zornard is a first grade teacher at Red Neck Elementary School in Newport, South Carolina. She's first grade, and she walked into school on January 6th, I believe, of this year. And she found out one of her students had a gun, and her speculation and her fear started to grow more and more throughout the day. And by mid-afternoon, her student had pulled out the gun from his backpack and pointed to her directly and shot her. She was able to get her students out of the classroom before he was able to shoot or harm anybody else. She is alive and was able to share her story for the first time just the other day. It broke news. She sat down with NBC News and shared her story for the first time. It was everywhere. Talk is everywhere. I'm sorry. She didn't sit down with the NBC News. I'm sorry. She sat down with the Today Show, and she shared her story for the first time. Her lawyer was with her, sitting with her. Her mom and her twin sister came and joined her. But we're gonna dive deep into the interview here soon. But what happened? How did this happen? So like I stated before, Abigail, Miss Lorner, she knew that her students, she heard word in the beginning of the day that her student had a gun. Now, this student in particular is only 6 years old. This student in particular does have disabilities, an acute disability where the parents are supposed to be attending school with the child, sitting with him through the classroom and helping him throughout his day while he is at school. But on this particular day, his parents did not attend with him to school. Now, the reason being, we happen to not know, and that is what we're going to talk about here soon more too. We don't know why the parents weren't there with him that day. Now, the gun that he did use was locked and secured according to his parents. Now, when they say locked and secured, the gun was on a high shelf that this child was unable to reach without climbing on an unhigh and scary, on a very high height. But the child ended up finding the gun somehow and brought it to school. Now, the parents had no knowledge that this gun was brought to school until obviously the incident happened. Now, the child walked into school. I do not know how the child was found out in the beginning of the day that the child had the gun and nothing was being done. I'm not sure if this school does security checks. The article and the interview didn't dive deep too much into that. I'm sure when the child, when the trial goes on to, when the court goes to trial and things like that, we'll find out a lot more. But we don't know how he got to this classroom with this gun. But the teacher, Miss Abigail Warner, she said that she noticed and her fear started to speculate more and more throughout the day. And then she said the incident that had happened, she remembered. She said that she remembered exactly what that child looked like when he shot him. She said she will never forget the look that he gave her. It was a look that I'm assuming the way she describes it is a scary and unforgettable look as for a 6-year-old that I'm sure she never really thought could possibly happen from a 6-year-old. So that's, you can tell in her interview, which here, I'll show you a little snippet right there.
Feel about this student.
There's some things that I'll never forget, and I just will never forget the look on his face that he gave me while he pointed the gun directly at me. That's something that I will never forget. It's changed me. It's changed my life.
You can tell in the interview, she was very, 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 you could just tell she was very just thrown off about it all. But so the child ended up pointing the gun to her. She had her hands up like this. The bullet went through her hands all the way up into her arms and up into her chest area. It could have been fatal, you all. The reason why she states this in her interview as well, the reason why she believes that she is still here today is because she had her hands up and that the bullet hit her hand first, so it kind of slowed down the process before it just directly hit into the chest. During her interview, she had just got done with a surgery. She's been in and out the hospital since this all has happened. She has not been back to work since this happened. And the child is not at school anymore. He is in a facility that will help him with some of his problems that he is dealing with and get the right care that he potentially should have needed in the beginning. But that's a story that we'll talk about here soon. But basically, the child is not being charged for this in this incident, which that is a Virginia law. That is a state of Virginia's type law that they have. I'm sorry, I totally said that this story was in the beginning was in North Carolina. I'm sorry, this happened to be in Virginia. Excuse me. But anyways, in Virginia, they do not charge 6-year-olds basically for this type of crimes. So he has not been charged for it. But the lawyer, which is Abigail's lawyer, she said she's sitting next to her in the interview. She states that as the boy was not charged, and the interviewer asked her opinion about that. Do you believe that the 6-year-old should be charged? And she said that she wasn't going to get into detail about that. But she is going to but there are people that are involved in this incident that could have prevented this case that she's diving deep into now. There are people that are accountable for this incident, and she's trying to make sure that she charged all of that. So with in an interview, she said that she's going to be charging, sending an indictment here in 2 weeks to the court to get this trial or this court and these people charged, so we can get this story a little bit more fixed and handled. So the story is very open right now, guys. There's not a lot of answers about how this all happened, how the teacher is. All I know is that the teacher is very good. She's doing a lot better. She happened to just have a hand surgery right before she had her interview, and I believe that said that was her 3rd hand surgery since the interview. She still has a bullet inside her chest up in here. She believes that the bullet will be there forever. The 6-year-old, like I said, states it's in a facility now, getting the help that he needs. And that's kind of all we really know. The interview dives deep into really how she's doing, how she's coping with everything. She says that she's doing pretty well. She has good days and bad days. There are some days where she can't get out of bed, and then there are some days where she's doing a lot better. Her little sister, not her little sister, her twin sister, and her mother were on there. The interviewer just kind of asked, like, how was the phone call when you got the phone call that she was shot by one of her students? Her mom and her twin sister and her are all teachers working at low-income student schools. So this was all very, very, when I say very, very shocking for them. Her mother said that she's like, I'm pretty sure I cussed when I first found out. And I was just in utter shock that this happened. And her twin sister said that she's living with her, helping her, taking care of her, helping her do things that she can't do because she is kind of immobile right now because of her hands. She's going to have some issues with her hands going on about it. I mean, a bullet went through her hands and fractured her entire middle bone that's in your hand right there. So that was all fractured for her. So she's going to have some issues with that. But that's kind of really all we know about the story. There's all types of different articles out here that are explaining a lot about it. We're going to share a couple of them in the description box below. But guys, this is where when I was reading this and watching the episode in the interview, I felt for her because as a teacher or just even working in the industry in childcare, this is just so hard. As a 6-year-old did this, guys, and the way that she talks about the story and the way that he looked at her in the eyes makes you feel like if you didn't know, even at the end of this episode, one of the anchors said the same thing, like if you didn't know this was about a child, you wouldn't think it would be about a child based off of the way this happened. I just don't really understand how it happened. Reading the article and watching the interview, I don't understand how it happened when people were known before the incident earlier in the day, knew that this child had a gun with him. Also, everyone should know in that school that this child is on a behavioral plan, has behavioral issues, is critically diagnosed with behavior issues. And I want to know, why was the mom and dad not there with him, or his aide not there with him when they were supposed to be? And that's another question. Why are mom and dad being his aide for him? How did that all happen? I know that's another story and another tactic that can dive deep into this, but how did that happen? And that's what Miss Abigail Zornard has said in the interview as well. That's what she's trying to figure out. That's what she is trying to get to the bottom of this story and get the justice that she serves. The anchor did ask her in the interview, what do you want for justice in this case? And she could not answer that question because I simply don't know if she knows. A part of me feels, based off of just the emotions that you can feel from the interviews, that she's mad that the 6-year-old is not being held accountable for this incident. And as somebody that was shot and going through the incident, experienced it all, saw it all happen, I'm trying to figure out, I can see why she would be upset, why the 6-year-old was not charged for that or not going to be held accountable for this incident. So there's just a lot of questions personally for me when I was reading it that I want to learn more about, that I know that we will learn about more. Even in the interview at the end, the anchor talked about how there are a lot of unanswered questions in this interview. There's just a lot, but we were able to finally hear what it was like that day, what exactly happened. She said that it was just a normal day for her. Her and her students were doing something. The next thing she knows, her suspicions got her. Next thing she knows, her student is at her, pointing the gun at her. She was shot. She was able to still pick up her baby. She said all she wanted to do was make sure her babies got out of there safely. She got her babies out of there. She ran to the front of the office and ended up passing out because her lungs collapsed. And then she was in the hospital, and her story is still here today, still going on today. Like I said, the interview, the lawyer is going to be sending an indictment out here soon. So we're going to dive deep more into this when more stuff comes out. But I just thought I would share this episode. It was very juicy. It was very heartfelt. The interview, I will just obviously post below. Highly suggest you watch. It's only about a 12-minute interview. It's good, guys. It's real good. We might actually post it at the end of this episode so you guys can kind of see. But it's it's good. It's real good. It's not, and I don't mean it as like it's good story or what, but it's juicy. It's good information. You can really feel what it feels like. You can just feel her. You just can feel her emotions through it. So I'm sending my prayer out to Miss Zorner. I hope that your recovery and everything is going well for you. I hope that you get the justice that you deserve or may need to deserve. I am going to be praying for the little boy and the 6-year-old and his family. I cannot imagine the stress or the ability that they are going through right now. The little boy does have an issue, has a disability that I'm not exactly sure what it is. It doesn't really say, but I'm just going to send my prayers out to that family. I cannot even imagine what they're experiencing and the heartfelt that they felt as well. So guys, I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Comment below, what your comments are about this story. If you like this story, just comment. Let me know. Let me know what's up. I want to know what's going on. I want to know how y'all feel about it. Make sure you like this video. Also, make sure you turn on those post notifications so you know when we're dropping videos. We're about to start doing some shorts here. We're going to do a little short series, which if you're not on YouTube, then you'll find out. Basically, shorts are these little clips, just little clips of us doing activities with our nanny kids, me prepping for nanny news, just things like that. We're going to, broaden our watch time, give you guys some more videos for you guys to watch. But in the meantime, like I said, go hit that post notification, hit this bell button, hit the like button, make sure you subscribe. If you're not subscribed, I don't know what you're doing. And make sure you guys are spreading the word about Nanny News. We'll see you guys all next Friday for another juicy episode. Hope you guys all have an amazing week. Love you all. Bye.